Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. Before we get you primed for Week 5, let's talk about what happened in Week 4, and we're going to be talking about the Green Bay Packers versus the Philadelphia Eagles from Thursday Night Football last week on this episode. All right, so let's just dig in. The Eagles came in as underdogs, and obviously, if you're going to Lambeau Field, primetime game, you can consider that to be the case. But the Eagles, who are 1-2, they're an interesting team. As I said last week, leading into the games, I thought that the Philadelphia Eagles were probably the best 1-2 team in football. Let's put this in perspective, everybody. If you watch these games as I do, and I say this every week, I watch every game every week, really just trying to find that fantasy football and the against the spread betting edges for everybody. The Philadelphia Eagles were about a half yard away from beating Atlanta. They were very, very close to be able to handle Detroit as well, and they did so without Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson in both games. Coming into this game, I thought that Alshon Jeffrey being healthy, he was not on the injury report. I thought he would be a difference maker in this game, and that turned out to be true. But I think the real big thing here is that the Philadelphia Eagles got the running game going finally, and I'll just read through the numbers here. And it was a healthy dosage of both Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders. Now, if you look at the games, I'm sure if you're a Philly fan, you probably understand this, but if you're somebody out there who's kind of a more casual fan, maybe watches those primetime games or those nationally televised games on Fox and CBS during the Sundays, you might not get to see the Eagles outside of highlight clips. But if you watch Sanders, I think, is, from just a pure talent perspective, I think he's better than Jordan Howard. But Jordan Howard just seems to get it done when he's in there. And his consistency, his ability to push the pile when he gets the ball, and his ability to hold on to the ball, because Miles Sanders fumbled probably 3 times in the last couple of weeks. That gives you more credibility as a running back. It gives you more confidence if you're head coach and your running back. So Jordan Howard, 15 carries, 87 yards, 2 of those touchdowns. Miles Sanders, 11 carries, 72 yards with a long of 30. Really, Philadelphia, this is the first time that they were able to run the ball against a Green Bay Packers defense that people are starting to grow with more respect. They kind of had their way with them in the run game, 5.3 yards per carry across the team. Darren Sproles got in there for a single carry as well. That's good news for the Eagles. We know that Carson Wentz in this passing game can get going. Shoot, even Carson Wentz was putting up nice numbers without Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson for a couple of games as well. Carson Wentz, 16 completions on 27 attempts, right? I don't think that's probably where you want Carson Wentz, especially if you own him in your fantasy football league. You don't necessarily want him only throwing the ball 27 times, but it's a really good sign. This is what we're seeing in San Francisco with Garoppolo and Shanahan really calling a lot of run plays. When you can be that dominant in the running game, if you can average that 5.3 yards per carry as the Eagles did, that is going to open up things in the passing game, and you can call a more efficient passing game. What we're seeing with the Rams right now and Jared Goff throwing the ball close to 70 times a game and only running Gurley 5 times, you don't want that, right? And I think the Rams would agree with that as well. From a receiving point of view, look, Alshon Jeffrey, he was a difference maker, like I said. 9 targets, only 3 receptions. One of those is a touchdown. He almost got in. I think he might have even caught a ball that was maybe called back on a penalty or something like that. He almost had 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard added a touchdown receiving. He had 3 on the night. Goddard got into the end zone. Zach Ertz, as always, targeted quite a bit, but only got 65 yards and 7 receptions. So not a great game for his standard of player. That's something you have to watch in terms of daily fantasy. You don't always want to invest in these guys. You have to look at the matchup, and I don't think this was a great matchup for Zach Ertz. But again, good news here. What you want to take away from this, from a fantasy football perspective, is Jordan Howard is starting to get a little bit more of the goal line carries where it was Miles Sanders early on. Is that going to be a trend? I don't know. Let's keep watching. But from what I'm seeing, like I said, that consistency, his ability to hold on to that ball, I'm thinking that Jordan Howard might be the better short yardage running back in Philadelphia going forward. That's what my eyes tell me. And then Miles Sanders might be more utilized in the screen game, almost like a Smallwood or Clement used to be out there as well. So keep an eye out for this dynamic. I think what was working against Green Bay can work going forward. And thanks to this Thursday night game, they have extra time to game plan for Week 5. Now, let's look at the Green Bay Packers. I thought, and I like the Packers quite a bit. And if you watch the Get Paid podcast, I think you would hear me and Brad, talk about the Packers. But we said, this is a tricky matchup for Green Bay because what this new Green Bay Packers offense is under Matt LaFleur calling the plays, Green Bay wants to establish the run. Philadelphia's strength as a defense is to stop the run. So we kind of thought, and let us pat ourselves on the back here. We kind of thought that Green Bay's run would have a little bit of a tougher game, and it would probably move to the pass because that's where the opportunity was. Coming in when I did my weekly, waiver gems and my daily fantasy projections, I thought Valdez-Scantling would have the better of the games. I didn't think that Davante Adams would, but if you look at the stat line, you can see that I was wrong on that. Davante Adams had 15 targets, 10 receptions, 180 yards receiving, no touchdowns though, bummer, but that's still a massive game, whether you're playing, DraftKings or in your fantasy league. Valdez-Scantling, I watched the game. He had some opportunities, but only 3 catches, 47 yards. And Allison was that off receiver that got in the end zone. So that's where the projection was. I was thinking that one of those secondary receivers for Green Bay was going to find the end zone. Now, granted, I didn't think that Davante Adams would have 180 yards receiving, but I did think, one of the secondary receivers went in. I picked Valdez-Scantling and ended up being Allison. Oh well. Jimmy Graham also found the end zone, although I don't think that's going to be a trend. Aaron Rodgers, we finally saw him, what we're used to seeing from Aaron Rodgers, that 53 attempts, 422 yards, only 2 touchdowns. And a pick for Aaron Rodgers. 5 carries, though, 5 scrambles, 46 yards. That's kind of what we're used to seeing optics-wise for the Green Bay Packers, but that's not what this Green Bay Packers team wants to do. They want to focus on the run. Aaron Jones, 13 carries, 21 yards. I'm sorry, but that was a little predictable. This Philadelphia defense can make teams one-dimensional, and that's what we saw. Now, matchup-wise, I think these two teams pair up very, very similarly to one another. If they play each other in the playoffs again, I think we're going to get a similar type game. It's going to be, come down. This game could have gone either way. The Philadelphia Eagles pulled it off. Good for them. But this is an interesting matchup because what Green Bay wants to do, Philadelphia does well defending. But, Philadelphia's Achilles heel in defense right now is the passing attack. And Green Bay has, as we saw, a passing attack that can be utilized whenever they want to. So Philadelphia is going to, if we're talking about against the spread, if we're talking about predictions going down the line, Philadelphia is going to struggle with teams that can run the ball, but can also pass the ball. To me, those teams are teams like Dallas is a team like that. And I'm trying to think across the league. Maybe San Francisco, I think, would give Philadelphia some problems. In theory, the Rams would give Philadelphia some problems. And then also, I think Seattle this year with their improved passing attack could give Philadelphia some problems. But I like Philly. They are, even though they're just 2-2, they've shot up my power rankings, which will be released soon. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I like this team quite a bit. Fantasy football wise, in terms of waiver acquisitions, honestly, I'm not really liking any of these. If Howard ends up being a somebody who's available in your league, I don't think he should be, but if he is, Jordan Howard is somebody you definitely want to pick up. I'm still kind of down on Aguilar and Hollins, but Deshaun Jackson will be coming back soon. Unfortunately, he was snapped up in my league. I couldn't get him, but he could be available in yours, and I suggest definitely snapping him up when you get a chance. Green Bay side, I'm not really seeing anything I like over here. Valdez-Scantling is going to be rostered. Geronimo Allison is more a matchup play. I don't think they want to pass to him. If he's getting receptions, it's because their preferred method of ramming it down people's throats and passing to Davante Adams and Valdez-Scantling is not working. So Allison got in the end zone here. He will get in the end zone throughout the year. So he's more of a daily fantasy play based on matchup, but I don't see him as a weekly fantasy football or even a waiver plug-in guy. But you might want to check out our free rankings if you want to join that mailing list. Just email us at functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com, and I'll get you on that distribution list. You can also check out here for more content, which I'll have weekly game-by-game previews as well. So that takes us through this video. Please check out our other videos in this series. Please also subscribe to this channel. That's how we grow our channel, and please also watch our playlists. We could use your support. It's free to support us, and we always have really, really nice fantasy football, daily fantasy football, and against the spread content going through you. So there you go. There's another episode. We'll catch you soon. Thanks.